My coworker was bragging to me about her marriage to a rich man, and without me asking her, she showed me a picture of her fiancé's house. I was shocked when I saw the picture. The house in the picture is my childhood home. And then we realized that we had both fallen into the trap of lies that changed everything. It started as a regular Monday at work. I walked into the office the same way I had for the past 12 years, ready for another day. I 34F, single, and not particularly interested in changing that status anytime soon. I work at a small to medium-sized company that I've been loyal to since I graduated college. It's not the most exciting life, but it's comfortable. I'm known as the old maid around here, not that anyone would say it to my face. The younger female employees whisper about me behind my back, but I've heard enough in the restroom to know how they talk about me when they think I'm not around. I don't mind, really. I've learned to ignore it. Besides, I like keeping to myself. I focus on my work and do my best. Socializing has never been my strength, and most of my colleagues respect me enough to leave me alone. But everything started to change the day Miss Harris joined the company. Michelle Harris was young, charming, and full of life, the complete opposite of me. She had this bubbly energy about her that drew people in, especially the male employees. I wasn't surprised when I saw how easily she captured their attention. She had that kind of smile that made people feel comfortable around her, but I knew from the start she wasn't as innocent as she appeared. Miss Harris wasn't just popular, she was the center of attention. The office revolved around her, and the male employees couldn't get enough. Meanwhile, the female employees, as much as they smiled to her face, started to whisper behind her back. They'd say she was trying too hard to please the men, that it was all an act. I overheard them talking in the restroom one afternoon, fixing their makeup and gossiping about how annoying she was. She's only popular because she's young, one of them said. She can't even do her job properly. I couldn't help but feel sorry for Miss Harris. Sure, she was different from me, but I knew what it was like to be on the outside. I had been in this company long enough to see how quickly people could turn on you when they felt threatened. It wasn't long before I noticed Miss Harris was struggling, too. Despite her popularity with the men, the female employees were cold toward her. She would approach them with a friendly smile, only to be met with stiff responses. When she looked disheartened, she would quickly turn to one of the male employees for comfort. But then something unexpected happened. Miss Harris started targeting me. It began with small remarks. "Miss Thompson, why aren't you married?" She asked one day out of the blue, as if it was a normal question to ask a colleague. I didn't know how to respond. Before I could gather my thoughts, she continued, "Have you ever even had a boyfriend?" Her tone was playful, but I could hear the mockery behind it. The other employees, both male and female, laughed. Emboldened by their reaction, she kept going, asking increasingly personal and disrespectful questions. "How long have you been single? Don't you get lonely?" At first, I tried to brush it off. I told myself she was just trying to fit in, to win over the other employees who had been shutting her out. But her questions became more intrusive, and her tone turned meaner. She started showing off her designer clothes and expensive gifts from her boyfriend, making sure to remind me how pathetic I was for not having any of those things. "I'm going to this exclusive restaurant tonight. Do you just eat frozen dinners at home?" she'd ask with a smirk. I didn't say anything. I never engaged, but I couldn't stop the sinking feeling that this was far from over. As the weeks went by, Miss Harris grew bolder. It wasn't just about making fun of me anymore. She seemed determined to make me feel small. She'd interrupt me at work, drop by my desk to brag about her perfect life, her rich boyfriend, and how she was going to get married soon. I couldn't care less, but it was hard to ignore. Then one day, she took it a step further. I got engaged. She announced to the whole office. She beamed as she showed everyone a picture of her fiancé, a tall, handsome man dressed in a designer suit. The male employees congratulated her, and even the female ones seemed impressed, though I could sense a hint of jealousy in their smiles. That's when Miss Harris turned her attention back to me. "Miss Thompson," she said, sauntering over to my desk, "I'll invite you to my wedding, of course. It'll be your last chance to see something truly magnificent." She grinned, clearly enjoying herself. "You probably wouldn't know what it's like to be part of something so glamorous." I remained silent, refusing to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. But Miss Harris wasn't done. She pulled out her phone and waved it in front of my face. "Want to see my fiancé's family home? It's in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the city." I didn't want to see, but she didn't wait for my answer. She swiped through her photos and held the phone up for me to see. And there it was, a picture of a house I knew all too well. My heart skipped a beat. "This is it," she said proudly. "It's massive, right? His family is super rich. I'm going to be so happy living here." I couldn't speak for a moment. My eyes were glued to the screen, and a wave of disbelief washed over me. That house, my family's house. There was no mistaking it. The front door, the garden, the tall windows. It was all unmistakable. I know that house," I finally managed to say. Miss Harris blinked, confused. What are you talking about? That's my parents' house, I said, my voice steady but my mind racing. Miss Harris stared at me as if I had just told the most outrageous lie. What? No way. This house belongs to my fiancé's family. I shook my head, trying to stay calm. I'm not joking. That house is where I grew up. My parents still live there. For a moment, there was silence. Then Miss Harris let out a nervous laugh. You're just jealous. You're making this up. But I wasn't. I knew that house inside and out. I knew every corner, every detail, and there was no doubt in my mind that the picture on her phone was my family home. Something was wrong, very wrong, and I had to get to the bottom of it. Later that day, I invited Miss Harris to come with me after work. I was going to take her to my parents' house and settle this once and for all. She hesitated at first, but eventually, curiosity got the better of her, and she agreed to come.